Hello and welcome everyone back to another Bolt Premium Customer Workshop. So we have Erica joining us on our call today, as always. She's one of our customer success engineers. So thanks for joining us, Erica.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So for those of you who've joined us before, welcome back. For those of you who it's the very first time, welcome, welcome. You'll see on the right-hand side, we've got comments. So feel free to say where you're calling in from. I can see we've got Tanai joining in from Colorado. Welcome back. We've got Sean from the UK. So feel free to introduce yourselves in the comments. And also, if you've got a project that maybe you've just gone live with that you want to share, feel free. You can drop a link in there and other people in the community can have a look at it if you're wanting to share it. So I see we've got Raj from Canada, Antonio from Miami. So welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, we've got a really exciting workshop for you today. We'll be building a custom tool where you'll be using APIs of two different services to connect them together effectively to speed up your workflow. So with that, what I'll do is I will share my screen. As always, if you've got any questions throughout the workshop, feel free to drop them in the comments on the right-hand side, and Erica will do her best to answer them. If they're relevant to the actual content at the time, she'll present them on the screen, and I'll do my best to answer them. So throughout the workshop, we'll have a few sections where I'll do my best to answer some of the questions that you have. Great. Okay. So with that, I think it's time for us to have a look at the slides today. So our workshop is automating content handoffs. We're going to go from a finished video to a published post. Now, this is a very specific example of how we'll be doing a larger concept. The overall concept itself is we'll be using the API of one service, and we'll be looking at the API of another service, and we'll be using a server function within Bolt, and we'll build out a dashboard so we can directly connect those two. So in this specific case, we've got a video editing tool called Tella. I'll be showing you through that. And then we've also got a social posting tool called Ordinal, and that basically helps you schedule all of the social posts that you'll be doing. And effectively, instead of you creating the video and then downloading the video and then jumping over into the other service and then uploading that video, effectively what we're going to do is use those APIs, and we'll transfer that video once it's finished directly from the video editing tool into the social posting tool directly. And this is just one example of how you can connect a variety of different tools together. So with that, because the prompts may take quite some time, what I'm going to do is we're actually going to start off by sending off the prompts directly into Bolt, and then I'll show you, I'll kind of go over some of, the process and the tools themselves. So with this, our first prompt is going to be look into the API developer docs of the video editing tool called Tella.tv. Let's create a dashboard where I can view my Tella videos, which are pulled into this dashboard via the API, include thumbnail and other important video info. Do not add user authentication. Now, I'm just adding this at the end just for the sake of time. However, if you were building out a proper tool, you probably will want user authentication. I'm just trying to save some time for the build. So I'm going to copy this over. Let's open a new Bolt project. Let's paste it in here. I'm going to change over to the max mode, and we're going to plan out our prompt. So let's go ahead and we're going to generate our plan. Now, jumping back into the workshop, I'm actually going to, just for the sake of testing out and to see how well it works for doing both, we're going to run another prompt. This is a little bit more complicated. And so for testing's sake, we're going to connect both APIs in one prompt. So here's how the prompt goes. Please look into the API developer docs of the video editing tool Tella.tv and the social posting tool called tryordinal.com. My goal is to create a dashboard where I can view my Tella videos and click schedule post, which then transfers them directly to Ordinal. I don't want to have to download the video, simply transfer it from Tella to Ordinal. Do not add user auth. So again, let's copy this prompt. And now we're going to open a second Bolt project, and we're going to paste that in here. Again, we're on max mode. Let's plan this out and we'll generate our plan. So here we go. We've got our 2 projects. Project 1 is just doing Tella for now. We'll add Ordinal into this later. And then our second project, we're doing both at the same time. Great. So now that we've got those plans kicked off, let's actually have a look and sort of understand the problem a little bit better. So once you've finished the creative work of making a video, that's only the first step. We've also then got the download upload loop where you've got to download the file from one tool, add it into another, and do this every single time. You can use excess data. And it can basically take up unnecessary time. Okay, so Derek, I see you've got a question here. What is max mode? Very good question. So notice that we've got our model picker. Ignore these for now, but we've got our model picker between standard and max. So basically, standard is the model that we provide to everybody on a free plan. Everyone here, you'll be on a paid plan. So you've got the option between standard and max. What we found is before we were offering Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus, all of the 3 Claude models. We're also looking into like other model providers as well, some of the open source models. We've also been considering adding Codex in there as well, because that's been getting better and better. And so basically, instead of you having to manually choose between each of these models, and as more and more models become better and better, we're creating an agent under the hood that effectively routes between each of those models depending on the task that you've asked, so that we can optimize your token consumption. So for example, if you're asking just change the copy in a header, then that's a very simple task. You wouldn't want a super high intelligence, powerful model to do that. You'd want to save tokens and just use a very simple model to do so. So effectively, that's what the standard and max mode does. I usually stay in max mode. Max does have the ability to downgrade to a simple model when possible. So I usually stay in max. Anyway, in our project, we have some clarifying questions. So let's clarify these. So first of all, do you already have a Tella API key? I'm going to say yes, and we're going to go through the process of getting that together. 2, would you prefer the video detail to appear in a modal? Yes, modal. And then 3, is there a specific color scheme? Let's say blue. Great. Okay, we'll turn it off plan mode, and now we'll send off the prompt. Now, remember, if you are using Platinum, make sure to check for these clarifying questions. Now let's jump over into here. This one's still creating the plan, and we'll jump back over into that in a second. Now, where were we? So we've done these 2. We've looked over the problem. Another issue is constant tool switching. It's kind of can get a bit frustrating juggling between 2 different tabs for the upload download. Also, there's repetitive metadata entry. So say you've created the description in Tella itself, to have to go and then add that into Ordinal as the post, as the description for the post, can also get frustrating. There may be other metadata entry as well, which you want to automate. So by connecting the APIs, it can do that as well. And then also this saves all the time and energy after you've already spent the time and energy creating the video. You don't want another task of having to sort of do all these downloads, uploads, etc. So what we're building is a video dashboard. So your televideos will be shown in the video dashboard. Now's probably a good time where let's actually meet the two tools. So I'm sure, Tella's actually an up and coming tool. I'm sure a lot of you probably haven't heard of Tella or try Ordinal before. So let's quickly jump in, and we're going to look at both of these tools. So you may have seen some of the tutorial videos that I've been creating for YouTube. Originally, I used a tool called Screen Studio to do so. There's a variety of other tools out there like Loom or other tools. Now, I recently made this transition to Tella, and one of the main reasons why I did that is if I'll click on one of these videos here, I'm going to jump into the edit mode. It edits all of your videos directly in the browser. One of the best things about it is it actually chunks while you're filming the video. It's chunking down each of the sections and uploading these chunks while you're filming. They found that if you're filming like a 4K, say 10-minute video, the upload time is pretty much 10 minutes as well. So they thought, why not while you're filming, once you've filmed the first 5 or 10 seconds, and now you're filming the next part, it actually starts uploading that in chunks while you're recording. So basically, by the time you finish recording, it's pretty much entirely uploaded into the tool itself. They have some great AI integrations. So if I come in here and I go into cut, they have this thing called find mistakes. So basically, if I've basically recorded this video saying, hey, everyone in the workshop, this is a test video. I've recorded me saying that 3 times. Erica, please let me know if you actually get the audio while I'm playing this video.
Ooh, it's very faint. I can hardly hear it.
Okay. That's all right. That's all right. We'll just go over this briefly, but effectively what you'll see is effectively what I've done is I've said the same thing 3 times. They have this great find mistakes. Now, for any of you who have, maybe a SaaS product and you want to do screen recordings, screen captures, and you want to talk through the product, or for example, you're building an internal tool and you want to share that tool with somebody in your team, often creating a video where you're recording your screen and yourself at the same time can be a really powerful way to share the tool. So, notice I've clicked find mistakes. It's gone through the script. It's noticed that I'm saying the same thing. Even if the wording was a little bit different, it still does a really good job at this. And then I can say accept all. And now have a look at this. It's actually cut those 2 first lines out of the video. Then I can go remove buffers. It removes that. And then I can remove silences. So in a few clicks, basically, it's almost made a fully ready video to share. So that's one of the big benefits of using a tool like Tella. Let's quickly jump into our second project again. Notice that it's created a plan for us. So let's go ahead and it hasn't asked us any clarifying questions. The plan is effectively saying, actually, no, it has asked us clarifying questions. Now, this is something for you to be aware of, is when the plan mode does ask clarifying questions like this, is sometimes it actually doesn't put them at the bottom of the agent's feedback. It'll put it at the top. So it's good to always just scroll to the top and just double check that the clarifying questions aren't there. So in this case, they are. Which social channels? I'm going to say X and LinkedIn. 2, do you want the scheduling form to include date and time? I'll say yes. And then 3, should the dashboard store any persistent history? Videos that have already been transferred, and we'll say yes. Great. So we'll turn that off plan mode, and it's setting up the database. It's got the edge functions, and let's go ahead and build. Great. Okay, so we've got project 1 building out and project 2 is about to start building out. Okay, so we've done a quick look into Tella, the tool itself. Now let's quickly look into Ordinal. So Ordinal is effectively a tool that helps you build a content engine that helps you create your posts for you. So for example, it's a great way that you can schedule all of your social media posts. So it can do all sorts of things like for example, it can post to LinkedIn, it can post to X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, a whole variety here. So, and you can see them on a calendar and you can see exactly when they're going to post. And the good thing is you can upload your posts programmatically. So if you remember back to the workshop that we had, where we were effectively generating, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, where you were automatically generating some of your social media posts. You can effectively programmatically send those posts that you've created into a tool like Ordinal using the API, and you can get your social media posts to schedule on a daily basis or every second day or whatever you choose. Great. So that's basically the 2 tools that we're going to be using. But again, this workshop is effectively to show the workflow of using the API of one tool and then going into the API of another tool and effectively directly transferring your media, whether it's a video or it could be text or whatever it may be. It's this workflow that we want to learn. Okay, great. So what we're building, we're building this dashboard that has a direct no download handoff, and we're also going to add a status view as well. So once we've scheduled a post, it should show that it's exporting or it's uploaded or it's scheduled in the dashboard. Here are the workshop outcomes. We've effectively already gone over these, and we're going to be building a working content automation in Bolt. And there's probably going to be some errors along the way. So we're going to work through each of these API problems as we go. The skills we cover, so API integration, server functions, automation, workflow orchestration, some error handling, and UI development. We've just gone over the tools. So this is effectively the workflow. So we're going to be downloading the video from Tella. We'll be using a Bolt server function to directly send that into Ordinal, and then using Ordinal itself to post the video. Okay, any questions so far? I see we've got a question. Is there a recording the past workshops? Yes. So basically, if you go onto our YouTube channel, we have a playlist on there. And that's where we have all of our recorded past workshops, including this one. This one's being recorded, and we'll add this tomorrow to that same playlist. Okay, all right. Let's see. This one's almost finished building. Now, an important caveat that I kind of want to touch on first is it's important for us to actually understand the API itself. So what I want to do is let's look into our Tella development documentation. So not this Tella, here we go. So basically, effectively with all of the APIs that you access, pretty much everyone out there has developer documentation as well. So if we look at our API reference and we can look down in like the video sections, for example, notice that it actually explains how we can reference the videos, how we can get a list of all the videos, how we can get video information, how we can delete a video, all these sort of things. And so here we can see the actual code that we want our Bolt agent to be referencing and to be calling in the when in the server function itself. So effectively, what we can and what we can't create is limited by these APIs. Very rarely a company will change its APIs. I know like Reddit had a bunch of backlash when they changed their API like a year or two ago. It changed basically what a bunch of tools could and couldn't do. I know like X, they've just launched an API as well, allowing you to programmatically post. So these do change every now and then. And these are effectively the containers about what you can and can't do. So it's good to kind of, go through these and basically have a look, like see, you can update a video, you can duplicate a video, you can do, a variety of things using these APIs themselves. Okay, we had a bit of an error. Let's retry this. So with this new model selector, we actually have had this issue where sometimes it'll build out the project, but then show it's an error. So we can see that we've got the project out here. Let's just hit continue, and we'll see how that goes. Let's have a look at our other project that's still building out. Okay. Great. So yeah, as I was saying, make sure to look through the APIs and their limitations before. If you have like a brilliant idea, say you want to do like some Airbnb with your friends and you really want to share it out together, maybe it's worth actually, and you want to build a tool around that, maybe it's worth looking in Airbnb, seeing if they have an API first. And that's basically where you'll want to do research and understand what it's capable of and what it's not before you can go ahead and build out a tool like this. Okay, we're getting this error, although we can see the dashboard was able to create. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to create our API keys. So what I'm going to do is check on this build and check it's been built correctly. Okay, we'll let that do its thing. I've noticed that like sometimes if you do error, that the errors will happen in quick succession. And then if you try maybe again a minute later, then often it'll go through and not have an issue. Uh-oh, well, it did have an issue. Okay, what we're going to do is we'll check on this project that's still building out. It's funny because it has actually built out the project here. So let's see how well it's done. So now it's asking us for our Tella API key. Now this is where we come into Tella. We open our account. We're going to jump over as soon as this is loaded. Here we go. Go into our home. And now in here, we can go into our settings. And so in our project settings, this is where we've got our API keys. So you can see some previous ones that I've created. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for one quick second. So I'm going to create my API key. I'm going to give it a name, Workshop V1. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to copy that API key. Share my screen again. So now that I've got that API key here we go. We've got Workshop V1. We've created that. I've copied it to my clipboard. I'm going to jump back into the Bolt project. Let's open our secrets, and I'm going to paste that API key for Tella that I just created. We're going to click Create Secret. Great. So secret's been created successfully. We'll jump back into the project, and now let's try again. Notice we've got these skeleton loaders, which look pretty good. And there we go. It's been able to pull all of the videos. So effectively what we've done is we've recreated our Tella dashboard, but we've built it in Bolt using the API key itself. So if I click on one of these videos, it's going to load some of the video, and it's pulling all of this video details via that API that we just connected. So we can view it on Tella. We can see we've got different chapters. We can even pull the transcript as well, all sorts of things. We can see when it was created, how many views it's had, etc. So this is basically showing us that we've effectively been able to pull all of those videos from Tella here into our dashboard. Great, so that's working well. Now what I'm going to do is let's clear the context.
Will, we've got a question for you if you have a moment.
Yeah, sure.
Here we go. You always seem to know about up and coming tools. Any suggestions for a Stripe alternative that does memberships, e-commerce, and manual billing or payments?
Yes. Thanks for the feedback. There is one pretty. I'm actually blanking on the name right now tonight. But I was.
Right.
Maybe it's called Polar. Let me have a look. Polar.
Lemon squeezy paddle. Polar. I don't think I've heard of Polar.
No, maybe I'm getting the name wrong.
That says a alternative, Polar.
Maybe I spelt it wrong. Here we go. Polar. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Polar for SaaS. Oops. Billing. Let's see. Maybe this is it. Yes, this is the one that I'm thinking of. So I've seen, I think I get most of my tools because I'm usually on X. I'll be on, it's a great way to find tools. And it's not just the tools itself. A great way to find tools is like by finding like indie developers, people who have made, you know, a SaaS app that's generating, I don't know, 50K MRR, and you look at their stack, and there's a lot of kind of build-in public forums, and people will explain what their stack is and what they use under the hood. And I've seen this pop up a fair amount of the time. Yeah, Polar is a pretty good alternative to Stripe that's worth looking into. Great. I think it's also pretty AI native. So I think you can use AI tools like Bolt to build, and it builds really well. So that's worth looking into tonight. Great. Okay, so we'll jump back into our project. Let's see where we are. Now, this last one's still building out. Now, remember, this first project, let's just give it we're going to call it a name for simplicity. So we're going to call this, we'll just call it API Workshop V1. Okay, so remember our V1 is we just used Tella to build out the prompt, and we haven't had any reference to ordinal just yet. So now let's make a prompt where we're going to reference that. Have a look into the tool called tryordinal.com. Great. Look at the developer docs for their API. I would like to add a schedule button into each of the Tella videos here on the dashboard, where when I click schedule, it effectively sends the video from Tella directly to Ordinal and uploads the video ready to be scheduled. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to put this in plan mode, and let's create this plan. So notice we've told it about the tool, try ordinal. Oh, I spelt it wrong. Hopefully that's not too much of a problem. It should be TRY. Hopefully it's able to figure that out. Let's see what it says. Try ordinal. That may be a bit of a problem. You know what? I'm just going to stop it now. I'm going to copy the prompt. If you ever do this, I'm just going to clear the context. I'm going to paste the prompt. I'm going to fix that again just so it makes sure it gets the right thing. There we go. And let's build it again. Great. Okay, so we'll let that build it out. Now we shall jump back into our workshop. Let's see where we're at. So we've created our Tella API key. We've tested the Tella API, and it's working in the dashboard. Now the next step, we'll create our try ordinal API key once that's ready to go. Here's our next prompt, which is effectively what we just wrote out then. Do research on the try ordinal API, add a schedule button to each of the Tella dashboards. Yep, that's effectively what we've just done. Now notice our process, we're getting it to do some research first. So it's going to point the agent to the docs. We've clearly described the UI action with the schedule button, and then we've asked for direct handoff to pass it straight from Tella to ordinal. Okay, now there's a few things that could go wrong. We'll get to those in a sec. Let's have a look where this is at. So that's building out. This project is still building. Notice that this is taking a lot longer because we've asked it to do both of those things. We've asked it to look into both Tella and ordinal and then build out the whole thing effectively in one. So we'll see how well this prompt goes. I guess it's already been building out for 10 or 15 minutes, but we'll see how well this one does. Okay. Do we have any other questions so far?
There's one. I was just thinking through it, that might be a good one for you to answer too.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the question, Derek. So personally, yes, unless it's a very, very super simple prompt. And the reason why I like to use plan mode is it kind of does two things. Effectively, one is if the agent, what may be clear in your mind may not be clear to the agent itself. So if it's got any clarifying questions that it needs to ask before spending all of the tokens building it out, it will ask you those clarifying questions in plan mode first. And so I think it's much better to create that clear plan of exactly what you want. In these workshops, I've sort of been blasting through, not really reading over the plan, but if I am actually building out a proper project, I will read through the plan, make sure it's doing everything that I've asked for. And it's just effectively making sure it's better to, what they say, measure twice and cut once kind of thing. It's that same approach where you just want to make a really clear plan and then build out from there. And then the second thing is often in plan mode that there may be some like weird little edge cases that you haven't really considered or thought of. And so plan mode will kind of like add clarity around those and basically help the agent understand things that you may not have considered and may not have put in the plan. Great. So now let's see what this is saying. So we've got some clarifying questions. So here's the summary. The plan bridges your Tella video library with Ordinal's social media scheduling platform through a clean server-side proxy architecture. The Ordinal API provides a straightforward URL-based upload flow. We send Tella's public downloaded URL to Ordinal, and Ordinal downloads this video. It doesn't go through the dashboard at all. It effectively just routes one API directly to the other. We poll until it's processed, and we create a post within the video attached. The user experience is simple with a schedule button. All API keys stay server-side, so in the Bolt database edge function, keeping credentials secure. Sounds good. So we've got our clarifying questions. So one, when a video is sent to Ordinal, do you want it created as a draft? So you finalize the schedule time inside Ordinal's creator, or would you like to prefer, yeah, let's do that. And then, oh, whoops. I'm going to stop that. If you do, again, make an accident like that, you can just stop the prompt and then let's answer this again. So one is yes. Two, do you typically post videos to a specific set of channels? LinkedIn, yes. To X, and by default, use the WSayer93 account. So to add a little bit of clarity on that, if we actually look into Ordinal itself, I'm going to log in. I'm going to continue with Google. And once we log into the account, several members from the same organization can connect their account. Notice we've got like the Bolt social posting account itself, and we've got other members from our company as well that can schedule their posts as well. If I filter this and I say social profile, and I'm just going to choose like my personal profile, for example, now we're only seeing the posts that I've scheduled, which there are none at the moment, but hopefully we'll see them getting added here soon. Now, what the Ordinal API can do is it can actually determine who in our organization has connected their accounts. And so that's effectively what we're answering with this second question. And then number three, should the schedule button appear on every video card? Or would you prefer it only inside the video detail modal? Where you can say add to card. Great. And then let's go ahead and let's build that out. Okay. Great. So tonight I see you've got a question. I'd love a future workshop on best practices to refactoring the code base and database. No matter how I do it, things get missed. Yeah, really good question. We actually just, I'm not sure if it's been published yet. That's a tutorial that I've been working on. So it should be published. It's either published now or by tomorrow. If you look on our YouTube, you should see that there's a specific tutorial video which outlines the practice of refactoring. So that's something you can look into. Maybe we'll be able to do an entire workshop on it. If not, feel free to look at that YouTube video. Okay. Let's have a quick look at this. So it's created another plan where it's taken all of that into account. And then now we're going to implement this plan. There we go. Let's have a look at this one. Oh, again, it's saying error, but it does look like it's built out the dashboard. So let's see if this works. Great. It's asking us for our Tella API key. Let's go ahead and we're going to add both of our API keys in here, and we're going to see how successful this one is. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my screen sharing off. I'm going to create another Tella API key, Workshop v2, create this. I'm going to copy that. Now I'll share my screen again. So here we go. We've created another API key. Usually for each different product that I'm building, I create a separate API key for each of them. And then because it just makes it really simple, you can just revoke each one rather than just using one API key for all of them. Now let's jump back into this second project. We're going to add our API key for Tella. I'm going to test that. Oh, connection failed. So I'm going to add that in here. When testing the API key for Tella, it says that the test failed. Please double check that this is configured correctly for both Tella and Ordinal. There we go. I'm going to publish that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, let me just copy that to my desktop in the meantime, just so I don't need to re-get that API key. Okay. Oh, having some issues there. Let's retry again. We'll jump back in here. This one is still building out. So it's creating the Ordinal proxy database edge function. Uh-oh. Retry. I've noticed that when I'm asking for really big requests like this, the chances of error is so much more likely. I think what I may start doing is asking for less big asks when it comes to the AI agent. So, oh, here we go. Third time's the charm. It looks like it's building out this time. Great. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is let's jump back into Ordinal. Now, if we want to get our Ordinal API key, very similar process. We just come into settings for pretty much all tools. If you jump into settings, you'll have kind of an API section like this. And this is where we can create our API key. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 sec while I grab my API key, Bolt Workshop. Create my API key. So I'm going to copy that. Now I can share my page again. Okay, here we go. So here we can see the Bolt Workshop. It's created that key. It's saying last used was never. So now I'm going to effectively I'm going to paste that new API key in my notes. I'm going to come back in here. This is still building out. Okay, so now we just wait for both of these to build. Looks like this one's close to being done. And this one's also building out as well. Okay, let's see where we are on the workshop. Let's jump through these. So let's look at what can go wrong. So basically API authentication issues, the keys may be missing, expired, or wrong. We may have some async processing delays. So because the exports and uploads can often take a while, if we're transferring video files like this, if the video itself is, it could be 100 megabytes or 200 megabytes quite easily. So sometimes we have like some limits in terms of how long the server function can run for. So that's usually something that may cause an error here. Also similar to that is that if you look in the Tella API, for example, you can't actually, the Ordinal API, it doesn't let you upload a video which is more than, I think, 350 megabytes or that's more than 10 minutes long. So that's, again, just kind of like an outright limitation of the API itself. And so that's something that you can't really get around. Maybe it's worth reaching out to their support, seeing if they can change it. But most of the time, especially if they're a startup, they may be responsive. If they're a large company, I'm sure they've got some strategic reasons behind their APIs. So effectively, you're kind of limited to what they allow you to do. So make sure that you kind of understand what those limitations are when it comes to the file size or the formats, etc. Sometimes there may be a payload mismatch. So the Tella response may not clearly map to the try Ordinal request. And so that's where understanding the developer docs comes in really handy. comes in really handy. And then also there's an unclear success state. So effectively, when you're, say, uploading, say your download or your video is being extracted from Tella and then it needs to upload to Ordinal, that state change, sometimes it's good to reflect that to the user, and you want to be as clear as possible. If you're doing something like an AI agent and you're streaming the response, this kind of falls in the same category, that you want some real-time feedback from the API while you're actually using it. So that's something to consider as well. Okay, let's jump in here. This one's almost ready to build and verify. So it's just about done. Let's have a look at this one. This one's almost done as well. Okay. Great. We'll just be a little bit patient. Here we go. Build and verify. Now, this is probably going to ask us for our Ordinal API key. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, that Ordinal API key that we just created, I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. So I'm ready to paste that as soon as this is done. Erica, I can see you're featured here. This is one of our workshops that we uploaded.
A star.
She's a star, exactly. Okay, here we go. Great. So it's asking us for our Ordinal API key, which is what we're expecting. Now let's open our secrets. This is strange. It didn't actually fill the secret name. So let's refresh the page. Okay, so what I'm looking for now is effectively the name of the Ordinal API key. So it's saying this is the name. I'm going to copy that to our clipboard. And then let's jump back into our secrets and paste it there. It should have, I don't know why it didn't carry across that time, but if it doesn't, just do what I did, kind of look through what the agent's done and you should be able to find that. Now I'm going to copy the Ordinal API key and I'm going to paste that. And we're going to create that secret.
Will, can you show that modal about of what the plan that was implemented was?
Oh, the one we just did? This one? Yeah, sure. So
for links that kind of show you what the agent has done.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a good thing to kind of be aware of as well. Notice that when you kind of look through the plan and what the Bolt agent has done, we can see, so wire everything together, build a schedule modal component. You can click on each of these items of the plan and you can actually go through and kind of see everything that the agent has done. So notice it's saying, it's effectively saying that two things need to happen before it all works out. So it's going to deploy the edge function, and then it's also referencing the API name or the secret name. So I kind of just, I guess because I've done this enough times, I kind of had the intuition that the agent itself will have some feedback and give us the secret name. It pretty much does that every time. So what I've done is I've just I've looked through the plan, I've expanded that out, and I've copied that secret name. And now we've put that in here. So here's our Ordinal API key. All right, so now that we have that connected, let's refresh our page. And we can see it's got our schedule button, which is now added. So here's our workshop test video, the one that we were just looking through. So if I click schedule, let's see what happens. So what has it done? Video not exported yet. This video needs to be exported in Tella before it can be scheduled. Open the video in Tella and start an export. So we may need to fix that prompt a little bit. So this time, let's correct our agent. So effectively what we're going to say is when I click the schedule button, I see a modal which says, and then I'm just going to copy all of this, and then I'm going to paste that in here. Instead of me having to export the video from Tella, I would like you to use the Tella API and directly transfer the video from Tella into Ordinal. I'm going to say directly connecting the two APIs via a server function. Okay, so we're going to put that in plan mode. Let's send that off. Okay, great. So we're going to let that build. Let's look in here. Okay, it seems like this has fixed. Now let's jump into our settings and let's see how well this one works. So I'm going to copy our Tella API key. I'm going to paste our Tella API key. Let's hit testing. Oh, Tella connection failed. It's no good. Let's copy this and we'll try Ordinal. Test. Now, I think maybe because it's asking us for this in the front end as opposed to a secret, that may be something to do with it. So let's now prompt our agent. So I'm just going to copy this and say, when I paste my API keys into the settings and I test both of them fail, please help me understand why, and let's fix this. I'm also going to say, perhaps we should save the API keys in the Bolt database as secrets. Okay, so let's send that off. Okay. There also may be an issue with the actual test button itself. So now that we've saved these API keys, I'm just going to try again and see what happens. Yeah, okay, so that's having the issue. All right, we'll let this build out. Here we go. Okay, so while that's building, what I can do is I can give you a little insight into something that I've built out that I want to share with you guys. So this is a project which is effectively everything that we're building out now. Here we go, team sign in. Oops. Okay, wait, sorry, one sec. Here we go. We've got something wrong with this. All right, here it's created a plan. Let's see what this plan is saying. Instead of requiring a pre-existing export, the new flow handles everything server-side in one shot when you click schedule. This looks good. We're going to implement this plan. Okay, now this second one is still having issues, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. I'm going to now clear the context. Let's try this again. Okay, so we'll build that out. Great. Okay, so we'll let that think. We'll let that do its thing. Do we have any other questions so far? No questions. Everything. Okay, we may just need to be a little bit patient.
Just watching what you're doing, Will.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just bear with me. Now, I think another thing that I kind of want to touch on is that, and I kind of already touched on this at the beginning, is that this is effectively connecting our video editing tool with Tella, with Ordinal, the social posting tool itself. And this is just one example of what you can use, connecting these APIs directly for. So, personally, a lot of the workflow that I go through a lot is creating videos and then posting them. But you may be doing something completely different. There's so many different workflows out there. There's so many different tools that you may interact with directly, whether it's like Notion or Linear or Slack or, there's a whole variety of tools. And effectively by understanding what APIs they have and how you connect these tools together, is you can now think creatively and think like, what is some repetitive tasks of my work? Like, what am I doing on a regular basis? Maybe I'm speaking to customers on a regular basis. Maybe there's, a tool that I use as my support tool that effectively answers all of my customer questions. Maybe there's a way that I can kind of pull all of those repetitive questions or feedback or bug reports that my customers have. Maybe I can kind of automate the process of putting those into a tool like one of my project management tools like Linear or Jira or something like that. So that's just kind of one example of what you can do. But really, the best thing to do is think through your workflow, just have like a good understanding of what's happening on a regular basis. There's a good quote from Elon Musk. He has kind of like a 5-step process that he applies to SpaceX and a variety of his other companies. And his philosophy is a lot of people automate things first, and you should really automate things last. Like you don't want to build an automation for a process that's unnecessary. So I wouldn't recommend doing this as step one in your journey. And I know it can be really exciting to automate something, to think that, okay, we're going to save all this time going forward. But you should only really do that once you've manually been doing the process more than a handful of times and really understanding that this process is core to your workflow. Okay, let's see how this is going. Let's try this again. Okay, we'll test. Okay, great. The Tella connection was successful. Let's try Ordinal this time. Now notice Ordinal was successful. Notice I've had to be a little bit persistent. This is, I think, the 3rd time that I've prompted, but it did get there in the end. So I'm going to save that. Now with that saved, let's try again. Okay, so testing the API keys were successful. However, it is still unable to load the videos from Tella. Please make sure that the videos are able to load correctly to the dashboard. Okay, let's build this out. Let's jump back into our other project. Looks like this one's almost built. So again, sometimes you just have to be a little bit persistent with these prompts. Let's see how well this works. So I hit schedule. Great. Okay, so we can see that the Ordinal API has successfully worked, because now we can see some of these different profiles. So I can see by default now, I didn't at any point tell Bolt about these other profiles. It's been able to pull these profiles into the interface using the API key itself. So here we can say it's scheduling this post to Ordinal. So workshop test video, and now this is the tweet copy. This is a short test recording. And now what happens if I pressed send to Ordinal? Now, this process may need a little bit of tweaking as well. Hopefully it works first time. When I've been building this out, usually it may get 2 or 3 errors along the way, but here we go. It's saying that it's sent to Ordinal. So now if I open in Ordinal, let's have a look. Wow. And in fact, because this video was such a short video, this was the one where we had the repetition 3 times, and we used that find mistake feature within Tella, and we were able to basically effectively crop that down just to 1 version. Now we can see it's been added here into Ordinal. If I look back into, let's come back into Ordinal, and I'm going to go back into our scheduled page. Let's hit back. Oh, it's taking some time. I don't know why that's not working. Let me just refresh the page. Here we go. I hit back. Maybe it's taken us to this directly. So if I just jump back into Bolt.new, hopefully we see. Okay, great. Here we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to filter it just to be my socials. So here we go. And we want to see a calendar. So here we go. This is the one that we were just able to schedule. So if we want to look through this workflow again, let's see how much time it's saved. It should, here we are in Tella. I'm going to record a quick video. It's asking us to open Tella. Now, you probably can't see this, but Tella has opened up on my end. I'm going to hit record anyway. Here we go. Hey everyone, recording another video for the Tella Ordinal API connection. I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to preview that. Now you should see the video that I just recorded. It'll just take a second to load. Here we go. Great, so that's the video that I literally just recorded then. You saw that. Now, if I jump back into the tool that we just built, what I'm going to do is, actually, let's give this a name. We're going to call this Workshop Video 2. We're going to save that. Now, let's jump back into the tool. And this time, let's hit refresh. Hopefully, it'll be able to find this video that we just recorded. Here we go, just like that, Workshop Video 2. And now if I hit schedule, Workshop Video 2, it's posting to my social account. And here's our tweet copy. We're gonna, oops, let's try this again. It's loading. And let's actually change this. And so we're gonna, tweet description. And now if I hit send to Ordinal, it should effectively export this video from Tella, and then it should upload this into Ordinal. And once this is done, we'll just wait for this. We'll be patient, make sure that it fully works. And now if I jump back into Ordinal, here we go. So just like that, now we can see our Workshop Video 2 is now scheduled. And look at that. Tweet description has come in through there. So there we go. Just like that, that last video, we recorded that about 2 minutes ago, and you saw how easy it was to edit the video itself, use this new custom Bolt dashboard that we've just created, and now we've sent that into Ordinal. Now, remember, in one of the clarifying questions, it asks us, do we want it to schedule automatically, or should we schedule that ourselves in Ordinal? And we said we'll schedule it ourselves in Ordinal. So to do that, you just come up here and click Schedule Post. So here we're going to change the date. I'm going to select today. I'm going to do, it has recommendations for the best time for your audience. So I'm going to say schedule. So now if I jump back into our dashboard, we can now see that this video has been scheduled for 1:50 p.m. today, unless I cancel it, which I will. But that effectively goes to show the workflow of recording a video. Now, in these televideos, what I did is I just recorded my webcam, but you can also enable screen sharing as well. So one of the best things that you can do if you're building your SaaS in public is kind of showing regular updates. Maybe, there's this guy who's gone viral on X, and he's basically, he's vlogging every single day until his SaaS reaches a million MRR or a million ARR. I know Elon Musk is following him. His account has gained a whole bunch of traction, and he literally live streams himself vibe coding an app to until, I think it's called BridgeMind. And he's gained a huge amount of traction, and he's earning a bunch of money now. And I think one of the big core strategies is he's been live streaming all his builds, but effectively he's building in public. And one of the best things that you can show your customers is you're constantly building out features, and you're listening to their requests, and you're iterating on everything that they're asking for. So by doing something like this, connecting Tella, connecting Ordinal, you've now basically seen how easy it is to build out a tool where you can effectively record these videos and then directly add them into a tool like ordinal and post them as easy as that. I know personally I had a lot of kind of like a creativity block when it comes to posting to socials, and I think it's very common that people have that as well. But if you're kind of building out tools like this, you can really make that process as easy as possible. Okay, that basically wraps up our workshop. We can see, okay, here is our other project. We have, this kind of has been riddled with errors. And I think a large reason is because we've just been asking too much of these prompts. Our successful project was the one where we did this one API at a time. We tried doing 2 APIs at a time here, but it was causing some issues. We can see it now has been able to successfully pull the Tella video. So what happens if we hit schedule post? Now it's loading our ordinal profiles. Okay, so it was actually able to bring in our ordinal. If I hit here and then let's schedule this for say tomorrow. Let's see if this works. There we go. If I hit project 2, and then we're going to say new description. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so again, we'd probably say that we didn't see any transfers. If I jump back into ordinal, maybe it's in the process of transferring. If it is, it's not showing the user, and I just saw a little toast flash up, so maybe let's just refresh this.
Yeah. Did you refresh it on the app? There's a little refresh button there. I don't know if you...
Here in ordinal?
In the Bolt project.
In the Bolt project. Refresh.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Great. Yeah. So we can say it failed. This is not uncommon that for the first time or the second time it fails. So what I'd usually do is that's because it just hasn't referenced the API correctly. So what I'd do is I'd copy an error like this. I'd paste it in here. I'd say this is an error. So it's basically not sending a valid payload through to the API. If it's continuously erroring, you can say something like, please look into the ordinal API docs. And by saying something like that, you're explicitly telling it, and then it will kind of double check that it's doing it correctly or not. We don't really have time to build out this second one, but effectively you can see that with this first project, we were able to get it working correctly. Just, stay persistent. You may get an error 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4 times, but stay with it. Keep prompting, and then the Bolt agent will figure out. Sometimes it may have a few different errors, and each time you fix, you're getting one step closer to fixing it. So there we go. That basically wraps up the workshop for today. Just want to say a big thank you to Erica for joining us on the workshop. Thank you always for being here, Erica. You did a great job answering all the questions. And thanks each and every one of you for being here. I hope you found this useful. It's pretty incredible that in 1 hour, we're able to connect 2 APIs of 2 different services, build out a workflow that can now save you a whole bunch of time. Now I don't need to download my videos and then go upload them to my socials. Effectively, by using this ordinal membership, I can now effectively pretty much streamline that workflow as much as possible. So Erica's also put a link to the YouTube videos. So there you should be able to find, I think that's probably all of our videos. We may have a playlist specific URL as well. But as always, thanks for joining us today. If you leave some feedback in Luma, that's always greatly appreciated. Every quarter, we hand out a $500 Bolt voucher for those of you who do leave feedback in the Luma. So we're pretty close to the end of this quarter. So we will be drawing that name out of the hat for the winner of the $500 voucher. Cool. So again, I think we'll sign off. Thanks for all joining us today. I hope you found this useful. We've got some feedback here. As someone who's been using Bolt since the beginning, it's amazing to see what you guys have brought it to. So thanks, Brent. We appreciate the feedback. It's definitely coming along. Skills are coming out super soon, so we're really excited about that. Bolt's getting better and better every day. So it just really empowers people like you and I who are building out tools like this. So again, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on next week's tutorial as well. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.